why I love co-op games more than PvP. What's better for the soul than a bit of jolly cooperation? What can make for a better time chilling with friends than when all of you are working together towards a common goal? No raging at one another, no getting tilted by toxic randoms in matchmaking, no rush to get things done, and only good vibes all around. That's what co-op is to me. The place I go when I want to truly enjoy myself with the people I like to spend time online. There's such a wide variety of choices in this specific subgenre of multiplayer that it's almost impossible not to find something you and your friends will get maximum enjoyment out of. That's the beauty of it. Whereas a lot of PvP games are chained by the current trends and following specific formulas, co-op games feel like they offer a freedom for experimentation that is simply leaps and bounds ahead. This can be considered a companion piece to the first video on my channel, where I covered why I no longer find any enjoyment in most PvP-style multiplayer games, but frankly you don't need to have seen that one for this to make just as much sense. So why not sit back and join me as I wander through the hallowed halls of cooperative games and why I love them to death. A true sense of community. One aspect of co-op games that is just overall a positive experience is that for the most part, by their nature, they encourage people to try and work together towards a common goal. From games like Deep Rock Galactic to Monster Hunter to Killing Floor to Vermintide, you'll find that people go out of their way to facilitate positive interactions. When I play Deep Rock Galactic and I throw out a good rock and stone, you know damn well that even with zero verbal comms, everyone will always reciprocate. There's just a sense of camaraderie in these sorts of games that you'll find lacking in other multiplayer. People are willing to talk to you, in chat or through voice comms. They're happy to help when you're new or when you simply don't know how to do something. Because in co-op, it doesn't matter as much how you perform individually. There's no incentive to be better than your partners if there's no overall cohesion there. If you and everyone else on the crew aren't having a good time. That's what I have experienced when delving into these communities. Everyone is here to have a good time, and almost always they make sure that everyone else around them can feel the same. There's such a welcoming atmosphere there, one that you find more or less missing in the PvP genre, with a few exceptions like Team Fortress 2. What adds to the beauty of people actually trying to be kind and work together is that you don't have to go online and look up guides in most instances, or try and dig up the best meta, because all you have to do when you run into more experienced players in a co-op game is ask. Damn near always, they'll be happy to share stuff with you. Tips and tricks they've discovered throughout their time playing, ways for you to more easily do certain things, or recommendations on your class, weapons, and other game-related elements. There's just such a natural way that it all plays out when there is so little animosity between people and so much incentive for actual teamwork in the very design of the games. You see collaboration simply sprout out of thin air, people going out their way to teach and help those they're playing with. The kind of thing that really lights a warm little fire in even the coldest and deadest hearts such as mine. I love these communities. I love that almost all co-op games end up creating such happy bubbles of joyous socializing. It's something you just don't find in most other games on the market, especially not the ones that emphasize the exact opposite mindset of only I matter. Co-op is the place where we all matter. The echo of couch co-op. I grew up with something that has of late become less and less common, which is frankly a tragedy, and that is the days when you and your gang of misfits could huddle around one TV, grab a couple drinks, and spend a whole night playing some good old couch co-op. It's true that for the most part these days, that stuff is long gone, with less and less games actually offering the ability to play split screen or even on the same system. Take Halo Infinite for example, where split-screen co-op was promised for the game by the head of 343. but it's one of the many promises broken and forgotten. However, there are still a good number of games that see the value of offering you something you can play with your friends in the same room, and I believe that is an element that needs to be preserved, even if it ultimately falls to indie games to do so. There is a joy like no other when you and your friends can share the same physical space, have the type of banter you do in person, and at the same time throw on a fun game, both to enhance the natural interactions you are going to have regardless, and to fuel new ones. The fact that devs and publishers have placed less and less value on even including this feature at all is frankly disheartening, because there has never been a case where having the ability to play a game with your friends in person was a bad thing. If anything, people experienced a surge in loneliness and atomization from their friends and communities during the pandemic. If there was ever a time to try and give people more reasons to hang out together, it is now more than ever. Ever since Halo CE did the incredible and allowed for seamless co-op throughout the entire series, until the 343 titles, I have sat down on my couch and played games with everyone, from friends all the way to family. It is a bonding experience like no other, and I hope it undergoes a revival someday soon, so future generations can continue to know that joy. Co-op games are literally timeless. You know what's really great about co-op games? They have a much longer shelf life than player versus player. You might be thinking, wait a minute, that's a load of bollocks. But give me a second to explain what I mean. When a PvP game dies, inevitably, it usually stays dead. If the population of any one game goes too low, it doesn't matter if the devs implement player servers or allow for peer-to-peer so that the servers shutting down doesn't kill the ability to play it. You'll always need enough players to fill multiple teams to be willing to play at the same time in order for those lobbies to ever be the same as they were in their prime. So most of the time when they die for good, since there's never enough people willing to hop on to properly recreate a match. That means all your hard work and time dedicated to that game will turn to dust. No reliving those glory days, and no having fun with that game ever again. Of course there's exceptions, hell, there are entire Discord communities dedicated to keeping a few specific games alive, and trust me, I will be eternally grateful for the hard work put in by those working on Northstar to make Titanfall 2 properly playable again, but most PvP just doesn't get that sort of life support. Co-op doesn't have that problem. You want to go back and play a classic like Left 4 Dead 2, find one or two friends who got it, and jump on. You want to go through Castle Crashers for the 100th time and level up that one character you never played? Fire it up! The sky's the limit. You don't need enough people to fill a boat in order to experience the fun days of old. A good majority of co-op games are peer-to-peer, and also still encourage the concept of private matches and player-owned servers. What this results in is games that are immortal. You'll always be able to boot up games with this design in mind, and relive every moment of the joy you remember. That means all the time you spent playing and learning and getting good at those games, all the tactics you developed and all the cool little tricks and glitches you figured out with your friends will always be there for you. You'll never feel like you wasted your time, since you can always go back and experience it all again. A good co-op game can and will never die. Creativity still lives. I always complain when games follow trends, and it feels 10 times more prevalent in PvP than it does in co-op. You must have noticed that when a battle royale gets big, every other dev tries to make their own. When hero shooters get big, every other dev tries to make their own. So at the end of the day, whatever trend is currently dominating in PvP, all the AAA developers will trip over themselves to stifle creativity, kill the personality of their own franchises, and turn them into the same boilerplate as everyone else. I mean, just look at that last Battlefield game. I feel like co-op, as a subgenre, is not beholden to this issue to such a degree. Sure, you get your Left 4 Dead clones and co-op horde games all the time, but you also see constant creativity and the ability for devs to make stuff that isn't just the expected template. Just recently, It Takes Two really put a smile on my face. An old-fashioned 3D platformer with fun little puzzles and minimal combat in today's gaming landscape? Not to mention it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards in 2021. Color me surprised. If an old-timey split-screen adventure can do that, then we can maybe have a few more made now and then. No. Then there are other gems currently out there like Deep Rock Galactic, which I will literally never stop yapping on about. That has created a gameplay loop quite like nothing else, where your crew are encouraged to tackle a myriad of objectives in the most creative of ways, using so many tools, the environment around you, and even the kind of classes your team is comprised of to maximum gameplay effect, making it stand out like that one small, shining piece of gold ore in the deep dark cave. Hell, even the Monster Hunter series is a great example, one which has always preserved its incredibly creative and fun formula, never really trying to chase trends or mimic what other multiplayer games were doing to garner success. There's still nothing quite like Monster Hunter on the market, even if there are a few imitators popping up recently that wish they were. I believe co-op games show more creativity and freedom for developers to experiment right now than almost anything else in the multiplayer space, providing such a rich variety of experiences and always managing to hook me and bring me back for more. Free from the curse of esports. You know what the greatest benefit is of having games all about working together instead of against each other? No matter how badly developers and publishers want to force stupid crap like esports into these games, they can't. Without esports and a constant need to balance to the whim of a few whiny top % players, you don't get fun stuff constantly nerfed into the ground. Something is slightly unbalanced but lots of fun? Great. Why would we ever change it? Without the constant battle of balancing between the pros and the average player, these games find a far better place where fun tech and discoveries by the community are encouraged instead of stifled at every turn, because they might mess up the carefully preserved meta. Speaking of metas, they don't really exist in co-op games. Sure, there's better equipment and characters, etc., but you never feel pressured to use them except in the most absolute, challenging content. This opens up a lot more creativity for what equipment you choose to use and the way you want to play. Not everyone needs to use the same few agreed upon perfect loadouts. People can experiment more freely and come up with fun builds by themselves, and nobody will rage at them for it in a random lobby. You won't be getting flamed for wanting to use the hunting horn in Monster Hunter World, or going with a weird mix of weapons in Deep Rock. Plus, there's no one sweating their balls off trying to get sick clips for their Twitch stream or competing for who can get the most kills for clout, since nobody cares. All in all, this total absence of esports and esports-minded players results in the amazing communities and near absence of toxicity mentioned earlier. There's simply no incentive to be a raging ass when we're all working towards the same exact goal. Customization out of the box. Another thing I've noticed co-op games knock out of the park is the fact that in almost all of them, customization and making your character look like what you want is not only easy and doesn't ask you to spend real money for the most part, it's greatly encouraged by devs in a number of the games I play, to the whiny babies going, "Well, I don't care about playing dress up in games." Who asked? I do. Welcome. This is my channel. Take a seat. Get acclimated to that reality. I find it is a great addition when present as a feature in already great games, which is why I think it's worth highlighting how well so many co-op games do it, where you can earn gear through the gameplay loop itself, or buy it with currency you actually get from playing the game and completing missions, or even, on occasion, get given full-on freedom by the devs to make anything and anyone look however the hell you want. A notable feature of the workshop integration Valve allowed for Left 4 Dead 2. Where else could I have my boomers turned into Snorlax and my smokers into Goofy? That's what I thought. Customization is always a powerful positive to any game. Is it necessary for a good game? No, of course not. I have always believed that gameplay comes first. If the gameplay loop of a game is fun, nothing else matters quite as much. But if a gameplay loop is fun, like the case in all of the co-op games I enjoy playing, and you get to customize your character or even everything else to your heart's content, then that's just the cherry on top of a really nice and feature-complete sundae. Rock and stone, forever. All of the aforementioned and much more is why 9 out of 10 times I would choose co-op multiplayer over PvP. I tried to include a variety of the ones I've been recently playing in this video, but unfortunately the laws of reality still apply to me, and I do have limited hard drive space. There's so many more amazing titles out there and I couldn't squeeze in all of them. I still recommend you absolutely go out and find them and give them a shot. Co-op will always offer an experience like nothing else, which means it'll always be a surefire way to find some novelty and fun if that's what you're after. I do hope that this video has convinced some of you to take a break from your usual gaming routine, and maybe give some of these experiences a go. Who knows, you might stumble into an incredible community that you become a part of like never before. And if not, you'll at the very least get to vary up what you're playing with your buds from time to time. Remember to sub, like, comment, and share this video if you enjoyed it. There are many more to come. If you haven't yet, do check out some of the others on the channel. There's now a growing catalog of content. I can't really put into words how crazy the growth the channel has seen so far has been. I want you all to know I appreciate all the comments, and I do my best to read them all and reply to as many as I can in my limited time. But yeah, it's just been a mad experience so far. It's really boosted my determination to keep this channel going and make more videos, seeing such a massive and for the most part really positive reaction from you all. Glad to have you on board, and like always, I will see you on the next one. Don't forget, I don't have any socials, so sorry, can't follow me on Twitter or anything. I just don't like social media much. So if you do want to share my video, share it to people on Discord, your friends, whoever else you think might appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good one.